Okay, here we have it, the IPV4 Pioneer4You. This is the live unboxing, as you can see, still very much in the cellophane. I have not opened this. The postman came, a couple of hours ago, and I resisted all urge to tear it open and instead set up my video camera so that the 1.5 people who watch this, that's my mother and my cat, will be able to appreciate seeing this at the same time that I do. So yes, we have, I'll take off the cellophane first actually so it doesn't reflect too badly, and obviously forgive any terrible visiting video techniques because this is literally the first video I've ever recorded. Okay, tear that open and we have exactly the same thing without sellotape on. So IPV4 Pioneer4You, it is a box mod in case you're in any doubt of that. Not much on that side, got a logo. Now that could be somewhat interesting. This is obviously the silver because the only models currently released are the silver at this time, that being 29th of April. But the black, which is very much anticipated, and apparently also a blue, red and gold will follow, if that can be believed. On the back we have, if we can get some focus, IPV4, 7 watt to 100 watt, and this is not a toy, so if you thought you were going to give this to your kid, please reconsider. Packaging, IPV4 device, a USB cable, a user manual, a charging cable, and a gift box. I assume this is a gift box. I've seen nicer gift box, but hey, what are you going to expect? Right, so this is the moment of the unboxing. It is unboxed, sort of. And what do we have here? This being the user manual. I would say manual is perhaps generous. A pamphlet, user pamphlet would be more accurate perhaps. So what do we have here? Standard package, we already saw that. Specifications, I'm sure you already know that, or if you don't, you can find it easily, but there it is. Main features, a visual operating system. That's right, you don't have to use Braille for this. Low voltage, sorry, that's incredibly out of focus. Let me fix that. He says, not fixing it. There we go. Low voltage protection, low resistance protection. Well, you can read that for yourself. You don't need me to read it out for you. Oh, but very faintly in red, what do we have there? Oh, temperature control. 200 to 580 Fahrenheit, which is 100 to 300 degrees C. That is what we're all looking for. Oh, and here's so that part, this part, is what you'd actually call the manual, how to operate it. So it's not even a pamphlet; it is one sheet of a pamphlet. Output wattage, output voltage, battery level, atomized resistance, memory. Well, that's all good. Memory is nice actually. Oh, and here we go. No, it's not just one sheet. It is 3 sheets of manual, because we also have how to adjust the wattage, charging, right, well, no one really needs to see that. And here we have the main event. If I can get it out. There we go, there is a little beauty. Still very much in its cellophane. Let's fix that. Not too shabby, feels quite good in the hand. Some people said this is very ugly. I would say this is only moderately ugly. I have, well, no, I would say I've seen worse with my Smock M80. I would say that is probably uglier than the one on the right, quite frankly. At least this looks sort of industrial as opposed to just boring. Right, and what else do we have in the box? I'm sure we've got something, if I can get it out. I might do this off camera if you'll forgive me. This is a rather tight box. You can just stare loving at the IPV4 while I do this. Okay, so I've taken out this insert, which as we see also has a little certificate. What does that say? Product name, product, well no, that's been filled out, but it does have a QC pass, so that will give you some good peace of mind that they stamped the card. And finally, oh, that's a bit anticlimactic, all we have is the USB cable, which if you know anything about the IPV4 you will know is for firmware upgrade only, not for charging, because it does have a separate 9-volt charging system for which they do not provide a charging adapter, somewhat stingily. presumably they're going to bring that out as an extra cost extra. But I have looked up, there's obviously the 9-volt charging port. I have looked up the specs on that 9-volt balanced charging board, and apparently it sends only 450 milliamps, under half an amp, to each battery. So yeah, it's basically a 500 milliamp charger, nothing terribly exciting, so I think most of us will be charging externally. Okay, so we've got a 510 which with a little adjusty thing in there, but I think this is meant to be spring loaded. If I can find something with which to test it, I will test it. As I said, I'm doing all of this live. I have never opened this before. Yep, that is certainly spring loaded, and not too soft, not too hard. It's pretty nice. Okay, so I've got my pre-charged Samsung 25Rs here. Let's open this thing up. Now I'm told I should just be able to, yep, that's easy enough. And a little, whatever they call that thing, to get the battery through. I'm going to put this back on autofocus, so if it hasn't been in focus, I do apologise. Right, so we have 2 battery tubes, obviously. And in those battery tubes, I don't know if that's coming out, but we've got a plus symbol there and a plus symbol there. I think, yeah, I read out a minute ago, reverse battery protection, didn't I? So if I do this wrong, hopefully it won't blow up, but I'm going to try not to do it wrong. So plus, that is the plus on battery Uno. But of course the spring is actually on the plus, which is unusual. Sorry, I'm out of frame. So battery 1, and the other one, oh I see, the spring is actually fixed in both the same place. This is only my second 18650 or removable battery mod, so if that's normal, I apologise, because I've got no idea. Okay, there we have 2 batteries. Oh, and it just made a noise. Right, I'm going to tuck that in and put that back on. Now some people have been saying about how this is just plastic, sort of rubberized plastic, and how that's crap. I don't know, jury's out on that one for me, I suppose. It feels alright in the hand, I don't mind that. I suppose put that under the batteries, wasn't I? Okay, this is all live, folks, and I'm an idiot. Let's take these out. I'm just gonna sort it, press that down there. Okay, so let's try that again. I'll do it a bit quicker this time off camera. So plus to plus, and there we go. Right, that's a bit better. I can actually put the lid on. So yeah, so the jury's out whether this is going to last, whether it's good. It feels right in the hand, I'd have to say. Now, before we actually do the main event and look at it, let's just examine it in more detail, which I should have done before, I'm sure. So yes, we have obviously I did look at the 510 with our air vents or air holes, if anyone actually has bottom air fed Atties anymore. I suppose that's really, I suppose that's really styling up there. Doesn't seem to achieve anything. Is that part of the logo, the Pioneer4You logo? No, it's more like an arrow, so yeah, it's just styling there. Same on the other side. I'm sorry I keep being out of the frame. There's the logo, Pioneer4You logo. If that comes out, it is there. And obviously at the bottom we've got the all-important vent holes. If you're, as Scott Bonner would say, if you're unlucky enough to have a battery venting event, that will ensure your leg doesn't come off, which is always nice. And there we have the micro USB, which is for firmware upgrade only, and a screw if you want to take it apart. That's the only one, it seems. And that is pretty much it. Then we have the ubiquitous 3 buttons, because all mods ever created have to have only 3 buttons. I'm looking at you, the SX Mini, which could really use a bit more than 3 buttons. Anyway, let's see what happens. Right, so there's been a slight cut, as you may have noticed. I did carry on doing the live recording, showing the menus and everything, but for 3 reasons I'm making a less live version of it now. First reason was I realised it was going to be a bit shaky, just trying to hold it up and point the camera and show it, and I wanted it to be nice and stable. So I've implemented what may be a new innovation, I believe, in mod recording techniques, which is this lovely mod holder that you see here. It's also known as a yellow vice, but it does hold it rather nicely, and I think could be the start of a new trend. And this is rubber, so it's not actually going to crush my brand new mod, I hope. Now the second reason was that as I started recording it, I realised that pretty soon I had to stop because you couldn't see anything on the screen. That was simply with the sunshine coming in through the window. I've now pulled all the blinds, so you can see the screen quite clearly, but it's now about 2 hours later than the segment you just saw, and in that time I have been using it. I've been vaping on it a bit. In particular, I went outside for about 20 minutes. I was vaping it outside in the fairly nice sunshine that we had today. It was about 4 PM, so it was hardly Death Valley at noon type situation, but it was quite bright. And that presented a problem, which was that I could not see the screen at all. I don't mean that it was difficult to make out, I mean that I could not see anything on it at all. And you can see already that you can see my camera quite clearly, and you can now see my hand. It's a mirror basically. So that is a big issue with this screen. I mean, if I'll turn it on now, and you'll see that in the appropriate light, i.e. not much light, you can see it very nicely. So that's quite a nice, clear, bright, crisp screen. But when you're in the sun, it is, I don't want to say unusable, although it was when I tried it, but I don't want to say for sure it's unusable yet, simply because I've only tried it for about 20 minutes in the sun. But certainly when I used it, it was unusable, and time will tell whether we find techniques, you know, holding a hand up, or maybe wearing one of those black cloaks like photographers from 100 years ago. I don't know, but it is a big downside. So if you do live in a very sunny place and you're out about a lot, it's very possible this mod will be pretty awful for you. Anyway, enough of all that. Let's actually show you the menu. I'll show you the operation of the mod. So you just saw me turn it on. Shows Pioneer4You IPV4, doesn't show a version number. I don't have an atomizer attached at the moment. If I press fire, it will just say check atomizer, and it will not light up the screen, or rather it will not show any useful information besides check atomizer, which is not terribly useful. But we can wake up the screen in one of two ways, either pressing plus or minus. Now if I press plus, it will simply show the basic UI, and that's all it will do. It'll just show the UI, and it won't change anything, which is good, and what I would expect in all modes. Unfortunately, whereas it does that in plus, with minus, if you press minus with it from standby with the screen off, it will light up the screen, but it will also actually act upon the minus button, i.e. it will go into adjustment mode, and it will adjust down the wattage in the memory as you saw there. Now that isn't remembered unless you lock it in, so when the screen goes off, that's forgotten, so you can, oh no, oh okay. Well, this is another point. Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, and I haven't quite worked out why. So let's try it again. Let's say 19.9, and I'll just wait for the screen to go off. That will, yeah, I think I worked out what it is now. So basically, let's start from scratch. So I'll press plus to lock that in. That's another issue I'll talk about in a minute. Anyway, we should now be, yeah, M1 is at 20 watts. I'll press minus to go into adjust mode. I'll let the screen go off. And I'll press minus again, and it's carried on the adjustment, 19.8. Okay, I'll let the screen go off. And now I'll press plus. That cancelled it. So you're beginning to see already in just a couple of minutes some of the inconsistencies or weirdnesses of the UI, which are plaguing me already. But let's go through it more slowly. So, as I said, turn on the screen with plus, and that will simply wake up the screen. Press plus again, will now cycle through the memories. 5 memories, and you can see that they're at their defaults, which are 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. That's what they come as out of the box. Now, to change those, you press the minus button. Now, as you saw, you can either do that when it's off, like now, or you can do it when the screen is displayed. It makes no difference, which, again, I regard as it's not a great thing, because I think when you use minus to turn it on, or rather when it's in standby, then you press minus, it shouldn't immediately go into adjustment mode. I think it should be like how it is in when you press plus, which is that it simply, basically I want either of these to simply light up the screen and not actually then perform their function as well. I want to have to press them a second time to perform the function. The main reason being that, you know, if I'm fumbling about with it, if it's in my bag or whatever, I want to reduce the risk of an accidental press actually changing stuff. Anyway, it does. So yeah, we'll get the screen back on again, so press plus. So plus cycles through the memories, 5 memories, and then in a given memory I press minus to go into adjustment mode, and then plus and minus will actually adjust that. This is exactly the same, of course, as the SX Mini M and J, and maybe other EHs, I don't know. But as you saw before, you've got to make your change before the screen goes off. Well, no, sorry, you don't. No, you don't have to. If the screen goes off while you're making your change, you need to remember that to wake it up with minus and not with plus, because if you press plus, that will cancel it, and if you press minus, it will carry it on. So that carries on. So basically, it is still in adjustment mode. It's remembered where it is, unless you press plus, which is kind of like a cancel, but it's only a cancel when the screen is off. Everyone following so far? So let's try it again. So I am still in adjustment mode if I press minus. There we go. So it's still on that adjustment. To lock that in, I can press fire. A bit harder. Now, that's another annoyance. If it hasn't got an atomizer on, then pressing fire will both lock in that setting and display check atomizer. Now, at first I was worried that maybe when I had an atomizer on and I used plus to lock in the setting, that would also then fire the atomizer, but it doesn't. So this is purely a problem, or rather a minor display issue when there is no atomizer. That issue being pressing plus to lock in the setting without any atomizer will display check atomizer. Minor issue. Alright, we'll bring the screen up again and we can see that's actually saved it now. So I'll just run through that one more time, because as I said, it is incredibly inconsistent, or not self-consistent, I suppose we could say. So plus turns on the screen, minus goes into adjustment mode. When you're in, if the screen has not gone off, you simply do plus and minus to change the setting, and then you press fire to lock it in. Then you press plus to wake the screen up again, or at least if you haven't got an atomizer you do, and that shows that it's saved. But if you do let the screen go off, which can happen quite easily, as it will take 6 seconds, sorry, it only takes 6 seconds for it to go off, so press minus, I'll make a change, let's go up to, I don't know, whatever, 21, and now, oh, I've got distracted, haven't done it within 6 seconds, the screen's going to go off. Now if I press minus, I will carry on where I was, and I can then, it's exactly as normal, I can just do it there. I've got distracted again, but this time maybe, let's say I've just spent, no, well, okay, it didn't even register that press, that's another thing. Okay, anyway, so I've just spent I don't know, a couple of minutes finding my perfect wattage setting, scrolling all the way through, and I've set 93.3, the absolute perfect setting for me, but oh dear, I've just been distracted, screen's gone off, so I want to wake it up, press plus, oops, it's forgotten the setting. If I'd pressed minus, it would have carried on. So yeah, I don't like that at all. Okay, what else? Right, I just wanted to cut in here very quickly, because there's something I forgot to mention when I recorded the main bit, which is quite important though, related to adjustments. So I'll go into adjustment mode, and I'm going to adjust the setting. So obviously I'm going up and down, that's completely normal, as you would expect. Now, as you would have seen earlier, it does have an accelerometer, so I can hold it down, and oh, why did it do nothing for 2 seconds? Let's try it again. Hold it down, 1, 2, oh, there it moved. And that is what I wanted to point out. Very bizarre. The up and down is perfectly responsive, as you'd expect, and then when you hold up or down, holding down, it goes at sort of speed 1 for a sec. Well, no, let's be clear. So you've got, let's call that basic speed. Then when you hold it down, it goes speed 0, speed 1, speed 2. With speed 1 being fairly fast and speed 2 being very fast. But what I wanted to mention was speed 0, which is where it does absolutely nothing for 2 seconds, about 2 seconds. Nothing, nothing. Oh, it moved. Nothing, nothing. Oh, it moved. What the hell is that about? I've got no idea. That is so annoying and so unnecessary and bizarre. So yeah, I mean, seriously, I really don't know why that is. In general, I'd say with the accelerometer, it fits the pattern I've got in one of my other mods, which I find very annoying, where it's either too slow or too fast. I don't know, so let's say I'm at I don't know, say I'm at 20 watts and I want to go up to 50, no, let's say I want to go up to 28 watts, so hold it down, I've got to wait for ages, and then gone a bit too far, so now maybe I do it single ones, that takes ages. Okay, now I want to go to 38 watts, so I hold it down and it's really fast, it's too fast, so I go a bit fast, and then if I hold it down now, it can take forever, and I'm going to have to keep taking my finger off. So you see the point, it's either too slow, which is a single click, or it's initially too slow and then it's far too fast and you can't adjust it accurately. I mean, that's not unique to this mod, I've seen that on my Smok M80 as well. For reference, I hold up my iStick, which I hold up for reference in quite a lot of matters actually, because it's very simple design, but it just works. My iStick, you know, it's locked. Oh look, it's a lock feature. I'll talk about that in a minute. A working lock feature. So you see, it's slow and then it's reasonably fast, and you can stop where you want it. That is how I think an accelerometer should work. I mean, it doesn't really, I suppose, it's got slow and faster, but not too fast, and you can stop it where you want. That's how it should work, and it should not be like this, where it does nothing and then it goes insanely fast only about a second after it went moderately fast, because you can't really pick in accurately any setting there. You know, unless it's a short way away, you can do that. A medium distance away, well, a long distance away is fine, because then, yeah, that fast acceleration is good. If I want to go from, you know, 84 down to 20, apart from that stupid delay at the start, then it's good that it's quick like that. Although it would be better if it actually rolled over, you know, had a round robin, which it doesn't. But when you want to go a medium distance, 22 to let's say 35, you're either going to keep stopping prematurely or you're going to keep going over. So yeah, that's kind of annoying as well. And here endeth the cut back to the main feature. Yeah, scroll through the existing settings. You can't, by the way, change your live wattage, if you like, or rather, you can only change your wattage by changing a memory. Now this is the first of two issues where the manual seems to suggest you can, but you can't. Now obviously on the SX Mini M and J class, which many of you will be familiar with, you can do that, but only by going into the main menu and then wiggling it around as if you've got Parkinson's. But on this one you can't. Now just I'll bring that up as the first issue, or first of many issues with the manual. So if we have a look in the manual, item number 1, let's see if I can get this in front of the camera. Item number 1, adjust wattage. I'm not going to fiddle about with my focus because you can basically read that. Adjust wattage. Under the standby mode, press +- button to adjust the wattage. The adjustment will speed up when keep pressing the +- for a long time. Then the next thing is about wattage memory, where it tells you how to press the plus button to cycle through the memories, press the minus button to go into adjustment mode, and then in adjustment mode press up and down to change it. So the fact that those are two separate things, adjust wattage and wattage memory function, and particularly as it seems to mention a standby mode, rather suggests to me that you should be able to change the wattage outside of the memory. But I'll just show you very quickly. Well, I've already shown you. It's in standby mode now, and you know that if I press plus in standby, it will just wake up the screen and do nothing more. And if I press minus in standby, it will go straight into adjustment mode, basically exactly the same as pressing minus when not in standby mode. So there is no way of adjusting the wattage except in memory. So in terms of how you use this, or how I plan to use it, my expectation of how I use it is I'll have 4 memories for memories. So 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe, and then memory 5 will be my kind of you know, random setting. So I'll set memory 1 maybe to 20, maybe I'll have 20, 25, 30, 35 for memory 1 to 4, and then memory 5 will be set to whatever it was last time I needed something different. You know, if I suddenly need 17.5 or I want to try 60 watts or something, I'll put it in memory 5 so I can preserve memories 1 to 4. So that's not ideal. It's also not the end of the world. Now the neck. Well, I haven't shown you the menu, so let's show you the menu. 1, 2, 3. No, sorry, not 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll show you the menu. Very basic menu. System on and off. That simply means obviously turning the device off. Mode, power or dual. So that's your temperature control. And then exit the menu. So really there's only two options in the menu, which are turn the device on and off and put it into power and duals mode. So really one thing you can change in the menu or turn it off. Now if you go into duals mode, then that does actually enable a couple of other options. Your unit, Fahrenheit or Celsius. Although I'm British and we use Celsius for most things, I'm going to keep it in Fahrenheit because when it comes to vaping, I know the Fahrenheit numbers better than I know the Celsius. And then the actual temperature it's set to, which I'm going to set to 420. I thought I already had actually. That's the second time I've gone into it when it said I thought I had 420. It was actually 419. So not quite sure what that's all about. Of course I know what that is. Yeah, I'll just show you that. Right, so I've set it to 420. Then let's just check it is still 420. Yes, it is. Now let's go to unit, change it to C. Now let's go to unit, change it to F. Ooh, 419. It's a rounding issue. Basically, when you change the F to C or C to F, it's going to convert that figure, which was 420, into the nearest whole number C value, which apparently is 419. Or rather, 420F it converted into 215C, and then 215C it converted into 419F. So that is that's just a minor issue, but just be aware that if you fiddle about with the menu, your temperature setting may have slightly changed. Of course, there's no difference between 420 and 419. These are only estimated or guesstimated temperatures anyway. So, but that's just a minor thing to be aware of. Put that back to F. One thing I don't like with the menu is, this happened the first couple of times I was using it. You scroll through the menu items, as you can see with plus. But every time well, at least the first 5 times I went into the menu, and when you go into the menu it comes on that one, I accidentally turned it off because I saw those 2 arrows left and right, and I thought, oh, to scroll through the menu it must be I press right, but of course it isn't. That actually interacts with the menu item, and it's plus to go through the menu. It's a minor thing, but yeah, it's how it caught me out anyway. Alright, so I've shown you the menu, and where did I leave it in? Yeah, I left it in dual. I'm going to put it back in power for now. And as you saw, you can do exit menu like that, or you can just wait for it to go into standby. That will also exit it. So anyway, that's gone out. So have I shown you everything that I can without an atomizer on it? I think so. I've shown you going through the menu, memories. I've shown you changing the memories. I've shown you that that's the only way to change the wattage. There is one more thing. This has no lock feature at all. It's not possible to lock the settings. So in other words, it's not possible to stop these buttons from being active, and it's not possible to lock the fire. It's not possible to lock this button from being active. Now this, I'm sure, this could be something fixed in the future. I'm sure it's sort of a bug or an unintended eventuality, because basically the manual says there is a lock. This was the one that confused me the most, because it very clearly says in the manual, lock unlock, press both the plus and minus buttons for 5 seconds to lock your device from unwanted fire. The digital screen will show lock. Press the up and down button for 5 seconds a second time to unlock it. Well, I'm sorry, but that does nothing, or rather it does do something. It sets the resistance of the atomizer. Actually, I've just realised I haven't tried it without an atomizer. Maybe that will work. No, even then it doesn't work. Let's just, so it said hold plus and minus for 5 seconds, so yeah, that's 5 seconds, that's nothing. Let's just wake up the screen, try it again. Yeah, okay. So even that goes into set resistance mode, and this is something that I know is on the SX Mini M as well. It will say set resistance even when there is no atomizer, and I remember P. Basardo pointing that out in his review. So what I think's happened is that originally it did have the lock feature, then they applied the firmware, that enable temperature control, and then because temperature control is also hold plus and minus to set resistance, that kind of overwrote it. So it's quite possible it's got a lock feature in there. It's just you have to hold the buttons down for 5 seconds, and before you get to 5 seconds set resistance kicks in, so it's impossible to access. So that could be something they fix in a future firmware update. Although I would say, I mean, I was going to say I hope they do, but frankly I don't care if they do, because this is what I regard as a useless lock. Because, and just reading from it again, press both the plus and minus button for 5 seconds to lock your device from unwanted fire. In other words, it will lock everything. No button will do anything. Now I regard that as completely pointless, annoyingly pointless, because what is the point of locking it such that it can't do anything? If I don't want it to do anything, I'll turn it off. I realise, and in fact I was going to say maybe it's a bit quicker to lock it than turn it off, but it isn't really. I mean, if you've got to sit there holding this for 5 seconds versus pressing this 5 times and then pressing that once, that's quicker. So it's a completely pointless lock. The lock that would be pointful and very useful, and I wish it would have, is to lock not lock the fire button, so you can still fire it, but lock the settings. Now I've got 3 mods before this one. This is my 4th mod. Of those, 2 have that feature, the iStick 50 and the Vapor Flask clone, DNA40 clone, and the other, the Smock M80, does not. It's got the stupid lock this is supposed to have where it locks everything, and I have to say it is very annoying, because particularly on my iStick I regularly find if I don't lock the settings that just having it in my pocket will cause the buttons to be pressed accidentally. That's annoying, obviously. I mean, yes, I guess I could lock it, I could do the whole lock, but you know, if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to wait 5 seconds, even assuming it had the feature, that is, then I may as well just turn it off. And it's particularly sort of galling or annoying that and dangerous that this mod doesn't have it, because let's say on an iStick or any other mod, a button gets pressed accidentally. All that's probably going to do is increase your wattage by 0.1. Maybe it gets held down, it increases it by 5. On this one, let's say I am on well, let's say for example I configured memory 4 to be 10 watts, and I configured memory 5 to be 100 watts, and then in my pocket this button gets pressed and it goes straight from 80 to 100. Sorry, it goes straight from 10 to 100, and that's a lot bit worse than just a single press happening. So yeah, so that's annoying that it doesn't have that, and even it's doubly annoying that when it does have it, if they fix it in, it won't be the good kind, as I call it, of lock. Okay, there's been another cut, as you may be able to spot from slightly different lighting. I am now going to, I think I've shown you everything in the menu. I've shown you a few annoyances in that menu. There is one other bug that I've noticed, but I can't easily recreate, so I'll just mention it, which is you've seen that the screen normally goes off after about 5-6 seconds, like now. Yep. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I've seen it stay on for 30-40 seconds. I have no idea why that does it, what triggers it, but it has happened probably 5 times, so you'll see that for sure, and I'm sure I'll see it again, but I haven't had it happen again during this reshoot, so I can't exactly work out the scenario. Anyway, I've now put on an ATI. I put on my RTA, the Aqua V2, or one of my Aqua V2s, so we can actually finally see it doing something other than the menus. So first, the ATI is on right now. Let's just tilt this camera very professionally. There you go. So you can see immediately that when I wake up the screen that it doesn't automatically detect the resistance when the ATI goes on. For that, you have to press fire. So I'll tap fire, and then that reads that quite quickly, and the screen dims slightly. I don't quite know why that is. See if we can recreate that. So that's the full dimness. We'll let it go off. Yeah, that's the normal normal brightness, and then let's try tapping that fire. That reread it, and the resistance changed slightly. Oh, there, see, that's gone slightly dim. I don't know what that is. I don't know exactly in what scenario. Oh, I guess it is basically that when it's firing, No, when it's firing it's bright. Okay, that's just another quirk, I guess, that when you're operating the menu it's bright. No, not okay, it's not a quirk. Basically it has three modes of screen operation. There's off, there's on because you're using it, like with buttons I mean, and then there's on because you're holding down fire. And then there's on because you just have held down fire and the screen hasn't yet gone off. Four modes of screen operation. And one of them, namely the one you see now, which is the post-fire mode, is the dimmer mode. And actually I've just worked out that's the mode in which it doesn't go off for 30 odd seconds, yet it's staying on. Right, so let me just recap. Sorry, I was thinking live on camera there. So the screen normally goes off after 5 or 6 seconds. That's when you operate it with the buttons. But after a fire, it will stay on for 30 seconds, I guess, something like, I haven't timed it exactly, 30-40 seconds. And when it stays on in that post-fire mode, the mode you see now, it is slightly dimmer. In all other modes, it's the brighter mode that you've seen throughout the whole rest of the video. Clear? I don't know why it's like that, but it is. I guess they figure that after you fired, you want to see the resistance or the voltage, or I don't know, so it should stay on for a while. There you go. I don't know how long that was, but you'll see now if I turn it back on with a button and use the buttons, then 5 seconds after I stop using the buttons it's going to go off. Yep. And then when I turn it on with a fire, as soon as I stop firing it goes to the dimmer mode and it will now stay on whatever it is, 30 odd seconds. So there's that. Alright, so we've already seen, you obviously know that it's got 2 decimal place resistance reading, and it will show the last reading that it took. You can see there obviously it also shows the last voltage that it fired at, but it only shows you that when you fire, and it doesn't detect the removal of an ATI. So I am now trying to take my ATI off at a strange angle. Right, so that is now unscrewed part way, and basically that's definitely making no contact anymore, such that if I press that, there you go, but only when you press only when you press the fire will it clear the resistance. It doesn't detect, unlike the DNA40, it doesn't detect when the ATI is removed. And then unlike the DNA40 again, or at least the genuine DNA40 I believe, it doesn't detect when you put one on either, until you press fire, and then it reads it. You can see my resistance is jumping about a bit there. I am using an RTA, I'm using the Aqua V2. It does generally have pretty good connection. Yeah, that's jumping about quite a bit, but it's jumping about a hell of a lot actually. I can't screw this on any tighter. It is on as tight as I can possibly get it, but because, oh yeah, huge jump, I can't really, that could just be the ATI. This is a clone, obviously, as everything I own is. Can I find very quickly something genuine that we can test that with? I am searching around for my Atlantis and not seeing it. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's just try one other ATI. So this is a genuine Atlantis, original Atlantis, still Chinese made of course, if that makes any difference, but at least it's not a clone, and it's a coil head rather than a RTA, so it doesn't have my wonderful core building techniques. So first let's clear that out, putting on the Atlantis V1, which has got a coil that was new as of last night. That one I'm able to tighten down a bit more. I think the Atlantis has its own pin, floating pin, I can't remember. Anyway, let's see, so let's turn that on. Reading 0.56, it's supposedly a 0.50 coil head. Again, that is staying consistent. That is not flying around, and although it is supposed to be a 0.50 coil head, I have been using this one for about 12 hours with a very gunky juice, so I am quite used to seeing the resistances go up a bit over time. Anyway, at least that one we can see is stable, so that proves nothing. We can't say that it's got an unstable reading. I'm sure it's stable, just it didn't seem stable with my Aqua V2, but that could be down to the Aqua V2. Anyway, so it obviously fires. You can hear that quite clearly. I don't really want to fire at 40 watts into that coil. 18 is a bit more reasonable. Oh, the resistance is changing slightly there. That could be temperature, I suppose, even though it's cancel. So there's nothing really exciting about that. It's entirely what you'd expect from a standard fire. What I did want to see is what it's like firing from standby. So let's see if I can get this screen to turn off quicker by... So we know that it turns off after 30 or 40 seconds rather than 5 when it's just been fired. But what about if it's just been fired and then you use the menu? Does that put it back on the 5 or 6 second timer? Yes, it does. Okay, so then pressing fire from standby, I'll just try a tap. That didn't fire. Oh, I shouldn't have left it on 100 watts. See what I mean about accidental press? I mean, that was a deliberate press, but if that had been an accidental one, I'd be rather annoyed if I then fired unknowingly at 100. Anyway, you can see that actually, I was going to say the slightest press will light up the screen, but not necessarily fire. That's not true. The slightest press, I don't know if it's firing. It probably is firing, actually. We can't tell. Actually, I will put it on a higher wattage. Let's put it on 60. Screw my coil. So can we tell from this slight? We probably still can't tell from just a tiny breath. No, that was too much for a press to turn the screen on. That's not going to tell. Anyway, the point is that I'm pretty sure from my vaping experience that even with the screen off, it will fire as soon as you hit the button. There's no delay there or anything, which is what we would hope for and expect. Alright, so there's nothing really else to show you in standard mode. Basically it vapes fine as you would expect. That slight further weirdness with the screen about changing how long it turns off, I mean that's the worst thing. I don't like the turn off for 5 seconds when you're operating it. If anything, it's the one way round. I would rather, when I was using the buttons, it stayed on for 30 seconds, and when I was firing it, it turned off after 5 seconds. That would make more sense, because 99% of the time when I'm firing it, I'm not looking at the screen. I don't need it staying on for 30 seconds, but 99% of the time, or 100% of the time when I'm using the buttons, I am looking at the screen, and I don't want it to go off after 5 seconds because I got distracted, particularly when I'm doing that adjust, and as we know from the earlier part, when the screen goes off after 5 seconds there, if I then press the wrong button, I lose my adjustment. Okay, anyway, that's enough for cancel. Let us remove the old Atlantis and put on temperature control nickel coil and wrap this thing up because I know it's getting quite long already. So I have prepared, let's see if I can show you this quickly. I have prepared, where am I going to have to put that? Put it there. Yeah, this is the Limo 2, brand new this morning, came this morning at the same time as the IPV4. On there I've got a 28 gauge hard finish, I know it's out of focus, nickel build, 11 wraps, comes out to about 0.13. It is a space coil obviously, and that I put that together for testing temperature control. So let's do that. So I'm going to screw that on. And what was I going to say? I was going to say that I'm going to do the ubiquitous test of temperature control, which is a cotton burn test, even though I know that that's kind of pointless and irrelevant for normal vaping. But nonetheless, it is a test everyone does for temperature control mods, and we expect it, at the very least, not to cause a house fire. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Power mode dual. Okay, yeah, mode duals. Unit F is fine. 420 is fine. Okay, exit, yes. Right, so that's fine. So we're now obviously seeing joules instead of watts, although that is basically the same thing. Joules being kind of a pointless measurement. I posted about that on ECF yesterday. My view is, sharing what P. Buzzardo said, that joules is a needless complication. P. Buzzardo in his Essex Mini M-Class review did some analysis on his scope. I wish I had a scope to do the same thing, but basically he concluded that as you would expect, you see, you know, 10 joules, 20 joules, 30 joules. When you check that on the scope, they just equal more power going in, being put out by the mod. So in other words, although it isn't a direct correlation 1 joule equals 1 watt, it may as well be, and in fact it may be something as stupid as given there are 60 watts available and 50 joules, maybe it's 60 watts into a 50 joule scale, meaning 1.2 joules per watt. It could be something as simple as that. Anyway, it's a pointless complication. I wonder if they did it, maybe there seems to be some suggestion of patent, that they that Evolve had it patented with watts, so they just changed the name. Oh, well, that I haven't seen before. Well, why are you too hot? I haven't been frying it. I suppose it's... Okay, you're seeing this live, folks. This is not good. Could it be because I've got it in there? Okay, hang on. I'm worried now. Right, let me get this out of the way. Right, okay, it seems to be back. What the hell was that about? Let's try turning it off. I mean, it doesn't feel hot at all. It doesn't feel warm. It shouldn't be warm. I mean, I haven't been frying it, have I? Well, slightly with the Atlantis and whatever, but that makes very little sense, and it's slightly worrying. Okay, let's get it to read this. Let's do the set resistance thing. Set resistance 0135, that's fine. I didn't mean to be in adjust mode. Let's lock that. Right, okay. Well, what I was going to go on to say is that obviously when you're in temperature mode or joules mode, the memories show 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 joules instead of the watts, which you can change in exactly the same way you change your watts. Joules, I believe, is a pointless complication because it is just an arbitrary scale for power like watts is, except watts isn't arbitrary, it's meaningful and we all understand it, so why they have to do joules, I don't know. Maybe it's a patent thing, maybe it's a branding thing, maybe it's a stupid thing. Okay, but anyway, I don't know why the hell it just said too hot. I'm a bit worried about that. I assure you it isn't hot, and you see, well, you've seen me live on video, it has not been fired. I do think I kept tapping that plus a bit occasionally to wake the screen up out of habit, but I certainly didn't hold it down. And anyway, you can see I've got clean bare cotton in there, and I hadn't set the resistance, so if I had oh, there it goes again. Alright, we've got a problem, folks. You are seeing live the first dead IPv4, maybe. Okay, I think I'm going to take these out. Oh, sorry, I'm at a strange angle, so it's hard to do. Right, let's take these out. So I know this is not a good camera angle. I wasn't expecting to be doing live battery removals. Alright, so we've completely turned it off. I'm going to take the ATI off as well. I know I'm out of frame, sorry about that. I'm just examining this coil here. I don't know if it got short or something. Not that should tell me it's got a short. It shouldn't do that. I don't believe it has got a short. It's not the cleanest coil anyone ever made, but it's not. Sorry, you can't see any of that, can you? Yeah, it's not the cleanest coil anyone ever made, but it is a space coil. I've actually used this a couple of times already. I did an earlier test with a different set of cotton, and it was fine. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that coil, and even if there was, it shouldn't be too hot, and it isn't too hot. These batteries are stone cold. Alright, I am, well, I'm just going to, I'll get another set of batteries, we'll see what, 1 second please. Okay, these batteries were brand new, received this morning. They've been on my charger long enough to charge. They are obviously a Samsung 25Rs as well. So let's put those in. So stupid thing. So you have, as I said, I don't know if this is normal for mods or at least seen before, but everything I've ever used in my life that's had batteries has always had the spring under the negative, and this one has a spring under the negative on one battery but not on the other, so that confuses me a tad. Alright, so plus plus. Sorry, not in frame. IPV4. That's showing half power. What? Okay, I'm going to cut for a sec and bring the battery charger on screen. Give me a minute. Right, we're back. Obviously that was instant fuse, so I don't know why I said give me a minute, but I did. Right, so here you see my charger, and you see two other batteries. I bought 4 this morning, fully charged, 4.2 volts. Firstly, let me put on the battery like you saw me take out a minute ago, the ones I've been using all day, not that I've used them that heavily. Shouldn't be dropping them. 4.1 volts. And 4.0 volts. Okay, so they were pretty fully charged. Not that it said they were out of charge, it said too hot. Alright, so I'll take out these other brand new ones. Sorry that you're seeing my hairy arms and not anything useful. As I said, I'm not quite used to this whole video thing. So here we got these two more brand new 18650s. And now let's have a look at this increasingly worrying thing. So yeah, it's still saying half charge. Now, did I do something stupid like put them in the wrong way around? I really don't think so. Of course, maybe I should have taken the labels off so I could be sure, but right, I had it in that way. That is definitely plus. That's definitely plus. That is definitely, I don't know if, yeah, you can see that's plus. This one, see, obviously the other way around. Plus, that is definitely plus. Alright, let's put those aside. Those are the ones I just used. Let's use these other ones, which as you saw were at 4.2 volts. Right, that is definitely plus, isn't it? Negative, plus, plus. That is in. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering if maybe only one battery was in a minute ago, I tested that earlier and it doesn't fire with one battery, but I'll show you that now. It's series charge, so it's got to have 2 batteries. Okay, here we go, battery 2. Oh, I keep doing that because the bloody spring is not supposed to be on the positive. The spring's supposed to be on the negative. Anyway. Again, I apologise for not being properly in... am I doing that wrong? Frame, but I wasn't expecting. There we go. Right. Let's go and focus. Half charged. Houston. I don't like seeing myself in frame because I haven't shaved. But that's not the big problem. The big problem is I got a bad mod. Well, that's good. Yep, half charged on brand new batteries. Well, not sure what to do now. Let's go back to power mode. I'm not sure what difference that might make, but yeah, it's expected. seem to have a lot of settings at 60 watt for some reason. I don't remember changing those, but anyway, 40 watts. Alright, I'm just going to put an Atty on, see if it actually fires. I maybe shouldn't be risking my batteries, but no, I don't want to fire that. Oh, so whatever. Another day, another buggered mod. Alright, is that reading that? 0.5. I've got the Aqua V2 on. 0.5 is slightly higher than I expected, but oh, now it says full battery. Okie dokie. Alright, maybe it's not a dead mod, but we do have a bad battery sensor. Okay, I need a vape pressure. Okay, well, I don't know what to make of that. You've seen it live on camera. It seems to have a dodgy battery sensor. You saw it with two different sets of batteries. You saw it after, obviously, the battery's been taken out and therefore reset. There's no other way of resetting it. There's no reset button, so taking the batteries out should reset it fully. It said, let's just recap, it said too hot, even when it wasn't firing. I took those batteries out, I put in brand new set of fully charged batteries 1, then it said they were half charged. I took those out, I put in brand new set of fully charged batteries 2, it said they were half charged until I fired it. Then it said they're fully charged, which they are. So yeah, I don't know what to make of that, folks. It is as you've seen it. Oh, this is interesting, by the way, just while I'm here. You see, these are the batteries I've been using in it all day, if I can focus on that. You see there's a fair difference in their charge levels. When I put them on, there was a 0.1 difference, but obviously that's just a rounding thing, and actually is somewhere between 1.5 and 2 volt, 0.15 and 0.2 volt difference in their charge, so it doesn't drain them equally, it would seem. I don't know if that's normal in series mods, but yeah, it is what it is, just telling you. Alright, anyway, I really want to wrap this up, so I am now going to do the test I was going to try and do before, which was the joules test, and that's when it started saying too hot before. So I will obviously place an update or add a message to this or whatever, if I, as and when I learn more, if I realise that too hot is an actual problem with the mod, or work out why it happened, or whatever I work out. So anyway, let's get this back on. So now I haven't got my vice in, so you'll have to put up with wonky shooting. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mode joules, that's still the same, obviously. Exit. Oh, that's interesting. Did I hit fire, or was it just gone? Oh, I think maybe from going back to joules mode, it's remembered. It's showing the resistance of the last call I used in joules mode, maybe. I don't know, but let's do set resistance. Didn't mention that. 0.136, that's pretty close to what it was before. And I went into adjust mode by mistake. Let's undo that and lock that in. That's it, lock that in please, there you go. Right, so we are doing the standard generic temperature control test. Does it nuke the cotton? Now I will say that this base I've got in here is for the Limo. It is not an RBA, it is an RTA. It probably goes through a bit more metal than the average RBA. But yes, I've set it at 420. We know from experience, and I know in general from people like P. Basado, that RTAs tend to need a lower temperature setting on the gauge than RBAs. P. Basado, for example, said the K-Fun and the Scrape he would set to like 280, 300, and it would actually then fire about 450, 500 with an RBA with accurate. I haven't done a huge amount of temperature control stuff with RTA so far, mostly RBA, so I've usually set my DNA 40s at 450 and that's been alright, but I'm just mentioning that because if this slightly singes the cotton or something, it's probably not the fault of the mod, it's probably the fault of the technology. Anyway, so let's, as a reminder, we are, what are we, 420, 0.13, that voltage, by the way, I'm pretty sure is wrong. Let's see what happens when we fire. Yeah, so that's the same as the SX Mini M class, that dry core, no liquid thing. I guess it's kind of useful, and obviously it has not ignited, and you can see about the 4 volts. I can smell heat but that's to be normal. Obviously it is hot, it's just not burning hot, or not coil burning hot. So yeah, I've held that on. Oh, is that stop? Yeah, it's obviously got a cutout. I don't know what the cutout is, but that's fair enough. Probably about 20 seconds by the looks of it. Firing it again. No ignition. No flames. A strong hot smell. But as I said, 420 is probably a bit high for what is an RTA, albeit a basic RTA or not a huge amount of metal RTA. Yeah, that was about, I don't know, 15 seconds. Anyway, let's pull out and inspect the damage, or lack of. Yeah, a slight singe. Anyway, that's fine. As I said, this is an unrealistic test. And I probably set the temperature a bit high for what is an RTA base, not a RBA base, but the point is temperature control works. But what remains unresolved is why it said too hot, and that battery issue. I mean, the battery issue, if it goes away when you fire, is no big deal, but that too hot issue when I wasn't firing is a big deal in my view. Obviously it was slightly unusual. I was holding it in a vice, not very hard, but I suppose that was creating a constant block around there. But again, I mean, I didn't fire it, did I? I mean, you rewind and tell me, or I'll rewind and tell me, but I wasn't firing it. So, and then it continued to do it after I took the batteries out, or at least after I took the cover off. So that's to be investigated. If you're watching the video to see if you should buy it, then firstly, thanks, that's nice to see anyone's watching my video. And secondly, it probably won't matter to you because there's no stock left for a week, almost certainly. So by that time there'll be more reviews, but it is perhaps the first indication that the quality control or the bugs or whatever on this could be an issue. Anyway, I've gone on for far too long and I need to edit all this together. So thanks for watching. If you did, please consider subscribing. I know the quality has hardly been professional, but it is my first video, and your subscription will encourage me to make more and better ones, and it will be much appreciated. Thanks very much. I am the bloke, and I am gone.